Hi, my name is Jackson. My mother works as a cleaner at my school. That's why I was exposed to ridicule and came close to being expelled from school. It all started not so long ago when my family sold our small house in the suburbs and moved to a big city. We had to do this because I entered a premium school. Studying at this school will provide me with an opportunity to enter one of the best universities in the country. When the principal received my documents for admission, he was very surprised because many students entered the school due to considerable financial investments. I was able to score the right amount of points thanks to my hard work. My parents are ordinary workers who had enough money to live without any luxury before we moved. But our family faced severe trials in a big city, and poverty turned out to be the hardest one. In general, a lot of things have changed in our lives since we moved. We had to be extremely sparing because almost all the savings were spent on renting the apartment near the school. Both mom and dad had to urgently look for work. In a matter of days, my father got a job in a car repair shop, and my mother decided to surprise me. She kept secret where she managed to find a job for a while. And then I had my first day at the new school. I was shocked when I saw a tidy yard with fountains. There was a real palace in the middle of the yard. I simply couldn't believe that it was just a school building. The students were the best of the best. They were sharp-dressed, with set hair and cocky manners. Among them, I seemed to be ridiculous and even pathetical. Soon, I realized that intelligence wasn't the most valued thing here. It was money instead. I was rather intelligent, so I was able to quickly fit in the class. I had a lot of new friends by the end of the week, and everything was going fine until my mother's secret was suddenly revealed. I was walking with my new friends along the corridor, and I saw my mother wearing a uniform of a cleaning lady. I was praying to God deep inside that she wouldn't notice me, but then she shouted out loud, "Son," and waved with her hand. The guys surrounding me laughed right away and left without saying a word. Mom smiled happily, hugged me, and kissed me on the cheek. I smiled, but in fact, I was distressed as never before. I sat in my room at home and tried to come up with a new plan for getting the attention of my classmates for a long time. But I realized that nothing would work. Then I decided that my studies would be the priority for me, and I would find friends somehow outside of school. The only thing I wanted was my mom to be happy at this job and get good money. I was invisible to many on my first day at school. But now I was in the spotlight for virtually everyone. They gave me an insulting nickname, son of a scrub woman, and my classmates shouted out as soon as they saw me. I wanted to melt into the ground or become invisible again. It got worse by the evening when my mother came to school. She greeted me loudly, tousled my hair, could use her handkerchief to remove the dirt from my face, or make a lame joke in front of everybody. She didn't think there was something wrong with that. But my patience was running out. Two sides of consciousness fought inside me. The former loved my mother and was glad to see her every day. The latter was ashamed of my own mother and wanted her to quit her job at my school immediately. This lasted for several weeks, and I ran out of patience when they were laughing at me once again because of my mother. Once, I met her in the central corridor when everyone was already going home. She asked me to come to her and suddenly pulled out a sandwich wrapped in a handkerchief. There was almost nobody around, and I decided to eat it because I was very hungry. Then something happened that I didn't expect at all. Suddenly, she took the handkerchief and wiped the sauce from my lips as if I were a little baby. Then I heard laughter. I turned around and saw a crowd of guys who were filming all this stuff on the phone. I ran home at once, and when my mother returned, I couldn't stand it anymore and threw a fit. I was outraged. I walked around the room and yelled, and my mother sat on the couch and cried. I said that I wasn't her son at school from then on. I was an ordinary student, like everyone else. Since that day, my mother no longer spoke to me at school, and sometimes even at home. I became invisible again without her constant attention, and I wasn't fine with that. I thought I should apologize for my mother for that scandal, and then everything would work out for us. But I was wrong. Once, I noticed that there were guys standing near my mom and laughing out loud. One of them kicked her bucket, and the contents spilled right on her shoes and floor. I saw it all in the scared look of my mother and could no longer restrain myself. I ran up to them and hit the main offender. I was sure that we would start fighting, but suddenly The principal appeared in the corridor and saw me clutching at my opponent's neck. It looked like I was the instigator of the fight, and now they had to decide whether I should be expelled. The principal was a good man, but he couldn't leave me unpunished. He said he was pleased with my progress, but a fight was a serious misconduct. Then he found a compromise and told me about the annual competition of erudite people. Our school hadn't won it for the past 5 years, and if I won, he would have a reason to let me stay at school. I had to prepare for the competition intensively the whole next month, but it wasn't as simple as I thought, because our family faced new problems. My mother quit her job after that incident at school and began to look for a new job. We were ready for serious financial problems, but strangely enough, there wasn't less money in our family. There was even more. The amount of my pocket money increased suddenly, and my mother brought me a new laptop for studying. Dad and I asked her about the money, and she said that she had always saved some money for emergency cases. I doubted it and decided to conduct an investigation in my free time. I didn't have to look for an answer for a long time, because in my mother's purse, I saw documents from a suspicious company that gave out loans. I told everything to my father. We contacted the company right away and tried to cancel the loan, but we failed. We still had to pay the debt. They paid good money to Mom when she was a cleaner at the elite school, but now she worked as a cleaner in the shopping mall, and her salary was much lower. I had to earn extra money as a waiter in order to pay off the loan faster. I studied and prepared for the competition day and night and went to work in a cafe in between. I ended up falling asleep at school and working in my free time. On the day of the competition, I stayed awake thanks to a strong coffee. It turned out that the competition was broadcast on TV, and this produced too much agitation. It all started well, but then I answered the question incorrectly. That was an epic fail. By the end of the game, I wasn't hoping to win at all, so I wasn't nervous and just answered the questions. It may be different from my opponent, who made a mistake for the second time out of stress. In the end, the victory was mine. On the same day, I was awarded in the assembly hall in front of all the students. I became the honor of the school. I came up to the principal, reminded him of our agreement, and also asked him to let my mother get her job back. He was so happy that our school won, that he agreed to keep all his promises. It was the first time I was so glad that my mother came to school. Life was getting better, and I had to work for only 2 more weeks to pay off the loan. The victory in the competition brought fame and friends, as well as the envious ones. The guy I had hit last time knew quite well that I would be expelled from school immediately if I started a fight again, and he decided to make use of it. He waited for the right moment and kicked my mother's bucket of water again, right in front of me. I was ready to fight the offender again, but my mother stopped me. Then the offender decided to provoke me into a fight in a more convincing way, but he overdid it. He pushed me. I slipped in the spilled soapy water and hit the back of my head really hard. The principal heard the noise and rushed to us. This time, I wasn't the one who started the fight. That guy had no achievements other than his father's financial investments, so he was threatened with expulsion. The offender was sure that he would get away with it until he found out the real consequences of his deed. The back of my head was hit so hard that I lost my sight for several hours. Doctor said that if the blow were a little harder, I would have lost my sight forever. The principal and the father of the offender got this information at once. The father tried to bribe his way out of trouble, but the principal was adamant, and soon that guy left our school forever. A few days later, I was back at school. My school life changed after the competition of erudite people. Mom kept working at school, and everyone got used to her. I stopped being ashamed of her. I didn't have the nickname son of a scrub woman anymore, and I could find true friends here. Now, my mom and I have a great relationship, but I still have remorse for the fact that I used to be ashamed of her. I guess I'll remember this for the rest of my life. Would you be ashamed that your mother works as a cleaner at your school? Give your answers in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video with your friends.